All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Donald Trump has nominated Cash Patel as his FBI director. Obviously, that would mean that Cash Patel, if confirmed, is in. Christopher Wray is out. I think this is an excellent pick, in my opinion, anyway, by Donald Trump. But I want to speak to my guest. I don't know what he believes, but I'm curious to hear what he has to say because he is FBI whistleblower Stephen Friend. You know him. Go out and get his book, True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower. Steve Friend, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show.
Grateful to be here.
All right, so just right off the bat, just your initial thoughts. Cash Patel, this is the guy that kind of exposed the Russia collusion hoax and all this kind of stuff. What's your initial thought of the nomination?
Well, I've been on record that I believe the FBI should be shattered into 1,000 pieces and scattered to the wind.
Yes.
That being said, if there was one individual that I'm willing to give the old college try to assume the leadership, to assume the directorship, it would be Cash Patel. He is eminently qualified for the position, and for reasons that nobody seems to be concentrating on very much. I mean, you talk about his prosecution experience over at JSOC and actually prosecuting the war on terrorism, being over at Defense Department as chief of staff, working with Devin Nunes at the House Select Committee of Intelligence, and actually heading up that Russian collusion investigation that went on, exposing how the deep state sort of tried to keep Donald Trump from assuming office. But to me, one of the biggest things that's overlooked is the fact that he has a public defender background. He was a local and federal public defender, which means that he brings both the prosecutor and the defense side to it, which is very valuable because you can really gain an appreciation for the power that is brought to bear by an agency like the FBI and how they can make the process, the punishment, and be respectful of civil rights. So Cash is a great guy, and I believe that he's the right man for the job at this time.
Man, that is such a great point when it comes to public defender. You're absolutely right. BC, before Christ, I mean, I was a little hoodlum and I got in some trouble with the law myself. And God radically changed my life. But I mean, it's such a fascinating point. You're right, because this is a guy that, when you have prosecutorial experience, obviously you want to get the bad guy. But at the same time, all these people that are worried about Cash Patel going too far and exacting revenge for the sake of Donald Trump and all this kind of stuff. I simply don't see that because I didn't see that in Trump's first administration. And I think what Cash Patel did when he worked on the House Intelligence or under Chairman Devin Nunes of the House Intelligence Committee was he sought justice. He looked for the people that were corrupt within the organization of the FBI then. So I don't see why he wouldn't do that now. And I don't see why he shouldn't, quite frankly.
I agree with you. And I mean, look, he's gone after that corruption. He exposed what went on with the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and all the malfeasance that occurred there. And if we're to believe that the FBI before Cash Patel becomes the director was nonpartisan, we all know that's not true, but let's just take it for, let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it was nonpartisan. Well, he went after the evildoers there, regardless of their political affiliation, didn't ask what their voting records were, but still did expose how a Republican appointed director of the FBI, James Comey, was impeding his investigation there, and how Andy McCabe, a Democrat, was leading that entire investigation to try to thwart the duly elected president from assuming office. So it seems to be bipartisan exposure of malfeasance that went on from America's quote-unquote premier law enforcement organization.
You know, I heard Trey Gowdy say this the other night on Fox News, and I was actually surprised to hear him say it, frankly. And he said something to the effect of the people, the naysayers against Cash Patel, don't dislike him because of who he is, but because of what he knows. I mean, this is the guy. If in my opinion, just like you said, if there's one guy, I guess that could reform it, this is a guy worth giving the old college try to. But let me ask you this: what does he need to do on day one? Because I do have this concern. If there's an over promise, if you will, or this belief that day one, week two, everything is going to be reformed and there's going to be so much resistance. So where does he need to start? Does he need to blow it up from day one? Does he need to make, surgical incisions in the FBI? what does he need to do if they are going to try and reform it?
Well, I think the immediate short-term massive fix that he could do would be to change the incentive structure that currently exists, the perverse incentive structure. So day one, we get rid of integrated program management, the quota system. That perversely incentivizes the FBI to go after people because they have to get those numbers so they can go to Congress and get a bigger budget, because they have to get those numbers so that their bosses can get bonuses. We get rid of that. And that's also tied to the intelligence collection apparatus, because there's a quota for the number of intelligence products that they have to create. I think the FBI should not be in the business of secret policing. It should be in the business of law enforcement. It should not be collecting intelligence on Americans just for intelligence sake. So if you eliminate the intelligence branch, you eliminate the quota system, that takes a huge chunk away. And that can be done by policy on day one. He doesn't need congressional authority to do that. That's a quick, immediate fix. Okay. Then you go to the personnel and the fact that we have to essentially re-vet everyone in the FBI, and particularly those in a position of senior executive status. I ultimately believe that he's going to have to eliminate lots of positions, but then just remove so many of the people from the upper echelons of management. You're talking about anybody above GS-15, a senior executive heading up a field office, an executive assistant director, an associate director, all of those. They need to lose their jobs. They need to have their security clearances revoked, and they need to find employment elsewhere because they are part of the political apparatus. And if they have not been actively involved in pushing it forward, they've at least been passive in that and let it happen so they can just get to their retirement and collect their pension. And that's wholly inappropriate for anyone who takes an oath to swear and uphold the Constitution.
You know, it's funny because you answered my next question, because it was going to be basically even if he makes these types of reforms, what's to prevent this monstrosity, if you will, this Leviathan from growing back after a Trump term or after a Cash Patel, assuming that he would remain there for 10 years. You know, if J.D. Vance or Ron DeSantis doesn't win in 2028, then you know, he may go bye-bye. So I think I think you answered that. You have to revet every single one of the people that are constantly serving within the FBI. Do you need to disperse? I mean, Washington, D.C. has a buttload of FBI agents there. I forget the number that I read, but several thousand. I think it's 7,000. Do they need to be in Washington, D.C.? Can they be spread across the United States and other facilities?
Cash has already talked about this and addressed it, and I agree with it. Look, it's somewhere along the lines of 1/5 of the entire population of the FBI employees are in Washington, D.C., between headquarters and Washington field office. They need to be completely dispersed throughout the country. There needs to be a very small footprint of a headquarters level, and that doesn't even need to be in Washington, D.C. And as far as the Washington field office that actually does investigate crime and national security matters within Washington, D.C., they shouldn't be bringing prosecutions in the district because the jury pool is so biased and tainted that you're not going to have a fair trial there. So we should limit that. So we should shrink that size down. There's already an existing installation in Huntsville, Alabama, that's going to be taking on, or supposed to be taking on, a lot of the training apparatus. There's no reason why it can't accommodate a few dozen executives down there. And if they don't want to live in Alabama, too bad, so sad. I guess you wanted to live in Washington, D.C. Why don't you become an investigator there?
What about the narrative? We only have a couple of minutes left with Stephen Friend. Go out and get his book, True Blue, My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower. How are they going to combat the narrative? Right away, they're going to walk into office, assuming that Cash Patel is confirmed. I think he will be. They're going to say that Trump got rid of Christopher Wray. Now he's got this loyalist. Now this is the bad guy. You know how all of this stuff is going to play out. What do they need to start saying or messaging as they're heading into the White House if you're Donald Trump and Cash Patel?
I think you need to highlight some of the priorities, some of the proactive things you can do other than reform. I think they need to say, we're going to be heavily involved with assisting Homeland Security with finding and recovering these sex trafficked children. There's no reason why we can't be involved with that. We can get around to addressing the violent crimes that are afflicting so many of these blue areas, these cities. Those are the sorts of affirmative measures that you can take that could paint to what you're doing behind the scenes with personnel and restructuring, things that are kind of wonky and nerdy and nobody's cared about. They just want to live in safe communities, and they want the FBI to go after pedophiles and sex traffickers, and they should do that.
All right. I like that. That's smart. And I think they need to do that. They need to say, this is going to be our mission. This is in part going to be our focus. Some of the things that we're going to focus on, because I really think that they need to get the American citizens behind them, because obviously there's going to be a narrative. Also, you had recommended before that the FBI agents need to be disarmed. I'm assuming you still believe that, even if Cash Patel were to become the FBI director.
I would be in favor of that, and let's empower the local agencies, the sheriff's offices, the police departments to handle business the way they see fit, and let the FBI just assist them in that mission.
Yeah, I love that too. In that way, they can't exert their federal power like they have been doing, being this major Leviathan. Listen, Stephen Friend, it's always a pleasure, man, to have you on. I appreciate you coming on this evening. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be calling you. But again, go out and get his book. Stephen Friend is who I'm talking to. True Blue: My Journey from Beat Cop to Suspended FBI Whistleblower. All right. God bless you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And you guys stay tuned. We'll have more in just a second. Hey, Christmas is coming up, and My Pillow is excited to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while they last. Their famous My Slippers, these haven't been on sale for over a year, and they're regularly priced at $119.98, but for a limited time only, they're now $59.98. And their 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of My Pillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-858-0263 and be sure to use promo code Carl to save on all My Pillow products. That's promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. Flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. The 6-piece towel set as low as $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship for absolutely free. Go to MyPillow.com, promo code Carl.